Hello, all my faithful YouTube subscribers. Today's subject matter is, who is God? Who is God? We are God. You are God. I am God. I am eternal. You are eternal. God is us. We are spirits. We can never, ever not exist. Us in the flesh, we in the flesh are eternal. This life on earth is just some kind of continuum that we go through. This is a part of the space-time continuum we go through. Once you are rid of this flesh, there is no hell. You cannot burn and suffer in a place of fire without flesh. To burn in hell, you have to have nerves, you have to have flesh, you have to have skin, you have to have nerve endings, all kind of things to burn inside of hell. You cannot burn in hell as a spirit, because a spirit lives on forever. It has no way to suffer. The only how we suffer is because we are in the flesh. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind on their religion or anything, but Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, or whatever. When you die, your spirit is eternal, and it's not eternal in a lake of fire if you do wrong. Your spirit is eternal. You go to another space-time continuum, another warp in the folds of this universe, or in a multi-universe, or in another universe. Your spirit will always exist and not exist in an eternity of suffering. You cannot suffer unless you have flesh, unless you have nerve endings, things that allow you to feel pain. A spirit cannot feel pain. A spirit can feel pain spiritually. Like, there's a difference. You burn your finger with a lighter. You feel that. You only feel that because you have flesh. But think if one of your loved ones dies. Okay, it hurts to burn your finger with a fire. Okay, it only hurts temporarily. That can be healed. That can be healed because it's flesh. But if you have a loved one that dies, that you love and you care about, that dies, that's spiritual hurt. That's hurt you will never be able to get over, no matter how long ago it was. You're always gonna feel that in your spirit. You're always gonna feel that in your spirit. So you can suffer, pain as a spirit, but not physical pain. It's spiritual pain you suffer. On this earth, you got to know people. They live and they die. And when they die, it hurts you. That's spiritual suffering. So if hell was real, and when you die, your spirit goes to hell, it cannot feel physical pain or physical suffering. If you went to hell, the only suffering that hell could consist of to torture and punish you is spiritual suffering. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me ask you this. God says thou shalt kill. But in the Bible, it condones killing. The Bible tells you, oh, you should not worship false idols. But you go to a church these days with pastors and deacons teaching you about this Bible. You should not worship false idols. But you go in this church, they have that you go up there and you pray to. They have a Jesus up there somewhere in the sanctuary, that you look up to and you pray to. That's idolism. That's false idolism. The Bible contradicts. God's word contradicts. God's word is a contradiction. There is no God's word. It's all word. We as the people of uh, of flesh, we as a people of flesh, this is just a time. This is just temporary for us. It's somewhere for our spirits to survive in the space-time continuum, and when we die, our spirit goes somewhere else. Your spirit has lived as long as this universe has been brought to being. And then they say they want you to pray to a God, one all-powerful being. One all-powerful being. And you got to think, who created God? Everything you see, everything you could touch, everything you could hear, everything you could smell was brought into creation by something. Something cannot exist unless it was brought into creation. Which means if God is, if God created creation, who created God? And not only who created God, who created the person who created God? And who created the person who created God before that? It's a space-time continuum our spirits live in. We are eternal. We are eternal. This here on earth, when you die, you have no knowledge of what you did here on earth because it's not important for you anymore. Your spirit goes somewhere else. We are the two. God has not been created yet. God hasn't been created yet. When all heaven is all out understanding. Heaven is not walking on some clouds, opening some pearly and golden and gates, walking streets of gold. That is not heaven. Heaven is all knowing. Heaven is all knowing. You have knowledge over everything you ever wanted to know. It all comes to you. Heaven is having. It's not power of God. It's the power of knowledge. God isn't a being. God is knowledge, having knowledge of everything. God has not been created yet. It's not till all our spirits in this space-time continuum of this universe and of multiverses, we all get everything. And then we all come together. Then God will be created. Then God will be created. That's when all our spirits will manifest into one all-powerful spirit. That's why in the Bible it says, all men were created in my image. No, God was created in the image of all of our spirits. Because God, the all-powerful being can't just be created being all-powerful and all-knowing. Say for instance, the universe didn't exist yet. How could something be created without anything existing, any knowledge or anything ever exist? How can something be created to exist, to be all-knowing? It's not all-knowing. We were not created in God's image. God was created in our image. Then it's not the image of flesh, it's the image of our spirits. And think of this. Yeah, a lot of people ask what happens when you die. Think of where you were before you were born. Do you remember anything before you were born? No, you don't. You don't remember anything. You weren't supposed to remember anything because when you're born, your spirit has no knowledge of the past life it lived. That's not going to come to it until your spirit has evolved and developed and gained knowledge of this space time continuum. That's when your spirit gets all knowledge, gains all knowledge of everything. Why trees grow, how airplanes fly, why the earth moves through outer space at 60,000 miles per hour, but only spins at 60 miles per hour. All spirits are on. All spirits are learning. All spirits are learning. We were created because of stars, of gases and dust and stuff like that. That's how we were created. Our spirits right now are just basically starting from scratch. Your spirit is still young. It's really no telling how old your spirit is, because it could have been through many different universes, many different scenarios, not just planet Earth. They could have been from planet Oknot or whatever you want to call it. And on that planet, you could have been some kind of alien, dumbed down gazelle type creature with some kind of carnivore hunting you. Your spirit has lived billions and billions of times in other places. We in the flesh. Only reason we can't get the knowledge is because we're in the flesh. Our brain does not have the capacity to understand the knowledge that our spirit knows. You can feel your spirit. You can feel your spirit. You can hear your spirit. When you fix and do something wrong with your spirit talks to you. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Even though you know it's wrong, you still do it. But your spirit tells you shouldn't do that. That's your spirit talking to you. Your spirit is inside you, but it does not come into contact with your flesh. It does not come into contact with your flesh. So when your flesh dies, your spirit has to go somewhere else. We are God. You are God. I am God. God has not been created yet, but you could call yourself God, because when all our spirits come together, and your spirit might be my spirit. You never know. My spirit might be roaming the earth in the form of 7.5 billion different people. What's to say God is one spirit in the form of 7 billion different people? But he has to put his spirit, but to form God, 7.5 billion different people have to go through different situations, different scenarios, different kinds of living in poverty, living in luxury, living in this and that, to develop an understanding. What's to say when you die as a person, you don't know, when you die as a person, you don't know what happened to everybody else. When you die as a person, everybody else on this, all the other spirits on this earth might die at the same time in the form of 7.5 billion different people. There's the fact you live on this earth and you see somebody die, that just might be a cover up from what really goes on. You got to think, you yourself, when you die, you have no more knowledge of what's going on around you. So when you die, what makes you think this whole world don't come to an end, and everybody else dies, and your spirits all come together as one again, and then you are reincarnated somewhere else, and your spirits are spread out and dispersed somewhere else in some other space-time dimension or whatever like that. I'm not talking no alien type stuff. I'm talking spiritual type stuff. You are God, I am God. There is no suffering in hell. You cannot burn in hell if you don't have flesh. You do not go to hell in the form of flesh. And God can send you to, and the Bible say God can send you down. Even if you're dead and you get down there with your dead flesh can't feel pain. If you're dead, you can't feel anything physically. So open your minds to that. Open your minds to that. Bible tells you thou shalt not kill. Well, but the Bible condones killing. Bible tells you thou shalt not worship false idols. But you go into church, they got a whole bunch of fake Jesuses on cross set up in the sanctuary, and you pray to, and you go kiss your hand and pat this fake Jesus' foot. That's worshiping a false idol. That's not Jesus. That's not Jesus. So open your minds to that, and then get back at it.